Hello everyone, my name is Guillaume Follet and I'm with Reflexer App and welcome to ETHOnline 2021. I will be presenting you the Reflexer Lab workshop. So a quick agenda for this video. I will first give a quick introduction on RAI, briefly as a brief reminder on what it is and why it is interesting. I will then show you how to use the RAI main application, so how to mint RAI and deposit, take loan, etc. Then I will present quickly like the dev ecosystem, what are the available tools, and show a high-level overview of the smart contract. And then I will present one by one some of our main dev tools that you can use to build and integrate RAI. Okay, so first, very quickly, what is RAI? RAI at its core is a fork of MakerDAO's MCD, so a fork of DAI, with a key important difference, which is that it is not pegged to $1. It is free floating, but still stable. Its peg changes over time, and the key mechanism that sets this floating peg is the PID controller. And it is set algorithmically by this PID controller. Last but not least, RAI is Ether-only collateral, and which means that each RAI is exclusively backed by decentralized Ether collateral. All right, so RAI and control theory. So at its core, I mentioned already, like there is this PID controller. A PID controller comes from a discipline of science called control theory, which is pretty much the science of maintaining stability. You can see this kind of mechanism in all sorts of things outside of crypto, in industrial system, in cars, in everything. It's everywhere. And it is about the algorithmic control of dynamical system. And the most important and most common primitive in control theory is this PID controller, which we use to set the internal interest rate of RAI or to set the floating peg. So very briefly, how that works. RAI trades on the secondary market, such as Uniswap, this green curve that we can see here, for example. And RAI as a target, so like its current peg. And for example, it could, like in this example, trade above its peg at the red arrow. RAI is currently trading above its peg on Uniswap. The PID controller sees that, and to act on the fact that RAI is trading above its peg, it will apply a negative interest rate that we call the redemption rate. For example, minus 11% per year. So due to the fact that RAI trades above, the PID controller applies and calculates a negative interest rate, and the negative interest rate will make the current peg of RAI going down. So like this blue curve, as a consequence, will go down, and this loop repeats over and over and over for forever. Okay, so how does it look in practice? Like, so this is a price chart of like the price of RAI in purple, and the peg, the target peg in red. We can see that in the early days of RAI earlier this year, like it had a lot of volatility, and its target changed quite a lot as a consequence of that. Nowadays, it's more stable, slightly trending upward. This is the same chart, but zoomed in around like only the last month. So we can see from here, for example, that RAI is trading slightly below its target, and that's why we're seeing a slight uptrend in the redemption price, the floating peg. Okay. Last, so this is the redemption rate. So this is this interest I mentioned that was 11% in my previous example. We can see that, so this is annualized. Currently, like the peg is around something like not more than 10%, around 10%, something like that. And that it has been relatively low in the last month. So this peg is not highly volatile. It's moving, but moving slowly. Okay, So now I want to show you how to mint RAI. You can go on app.reflexer.finance, and here you will have to connect your MetaMask wallet. So let's do that together. Actually, I won't do that because now I'm on app.reflexer.finance, and for this example, I want to go on Kovan. So like you can know that with all our application, you can add -kovan on the URL, and you will end up on the Kovan version of the same app. So MetaMask, connect. The first thing I need to do is to create a Reflexer account. So like the account is actually a DS proxy, which we use to make and bundle transactions. All right, so I make this transaction here, link on it to scan, and this will take a bit of time because it has to confirm and need 10 block confirmations. So in the meantime, I want to show you the stats page of Reflexer. So at stats.reflexer.finance, this is the main page with like all the system statistics that we have. You can see, for example, like how much Ether is locked into the system. Right now it's 50K, the number of outstanding RAI, and a lot of other components, such as yeah, the number of active safe, like the current price of the Oracle, the number of auction, the money in the treasury, as well as some chart that you already saw, the redemption rate, and the RAI, number of RAI issued over time, and the redemption price graph. So this has finished. I can now create my what we call a safe. So a safe is equivalent of a vault. You deposit ETH, you mint RAI against that. So let's deposit 2 Ether and mint 1000 RAI. Yeah, so like I have a collateralization ratio of 216%. So that's kind of, I think not safe. I mean, we can go to 270% by depositing more ETH. And I will get 1000 RAI into my wallet. All right, you don't have a proxy address. That is interesting. Let's refresh the page. $2.5 Ether, 1000 RAI. And I confirm transaction. Now we need to wait a little bit. So I should see some RAI showing up in my wallet. Actually, because, all right, so here it is. Okay. So here I have my safe that I just created, number 1498. Let's open it up and see what's in there. I can see my collateral, my debt, the current redemption price and the current Oracle price, the history, and a bunch of information here as well on the system. This is the mint transaction. So 1000 RAI was transferred to my wallet. Yep, we should see them here. RAI is not added to MetaMask, so we don't see. So here we go. And now you can, if you want, deposit more, borrow more. Like I can deposit one more and borrow some more, or as well as go here, repay and withdraw. Yeah, I wanted to quickly mention savers. So like savers is an interesting mechanism that allows you to protect yourself against liquidation by depositing LP share that will be sold for adding up or repaying your debt and adding up collateral whenever there is a big price drop. Okay, so that's it. I won't show you further the app, and let's move on with the presentation of some of the tools and smart contracts that we have. So first, where to find documentation for everything Reflexer, docs.reflexer.finance. Let me close this. And here you have the documentation for everything from the smart contract, the JavaScript libraries, the security audits, also the incentives program that we have. Everything is here. There is also this nice overview that you can find here of all the smart contract we have in the system. So this is a diagram where like all of the smart contract that we have are here, and you can like open them like each as a link to its GitHub code repo, and it makes it easier to navigate when we start, because it's a lot of code and a lot of contracts around, so this is quite helpful. All right, so we are using DAppTool. DAppTool is, for those that don't know, is an alternative to Truffle or Hardhat. I really like and recommend DAppTool because you can do, for example, like write tests directly in Solidity there instead of having to write them in JavaScript. And it's as a Unix philosophy, and it's very nice command line CLI tools that are very composable and easy to use. But obviously feel free to use whatever you want. That's just what we're using. This is the repo with our smart contract audits. Feel free to have a look. And last, this is the repo with all the addresses of our system. So if I want Kovan, click Kovan, I pick the latest version, contract.json, and this is the addresses of all the contracts in the system. Okay. So now I want to talk quickly about our JavaScript library. So we have a JavaScript library called gabe.js, which is written in TypeScript, and that works so far only with ethers.js. It's like a very thin library, which is pretty much boils down to only like the types interfaces of all of our smart contracts. And you also have some small tools to make it easier to interact with proxies, because like everything we do requires to go through a proxy to bundle actions such as like deposit asset into the system, take a loan, and to bundle easier things at once. So it's similar to InstaApp of DeFi Saver or to MakerDAO as well, if you use any of those. This library makes it easier to bundle these actions. It also offers multi-call support. So if in your front end you need to pull a lot of data from, many variables from the system at once, you can just use the internal multi-call functions. And you can find all the documentation as usual on doc.reflexer.finance. Here we have an example of how you would use the library. So you create an ethers instance as you usually would. If you ever use ethers, you should be familiar with the first line here. Then you create what we call a gap object. And from there, you can call the contract. For example, here I am reading the current price of the Oracle. And this is an example of how you will make a multi-call to fetch two variables in one RPC call. Next, this can be useful for you as well, is the gap console. It makes it easy to interact with the system. So this is just like a command line interface as a wrapper of the library, so I can access it like that. get console once it's installed. Then I specify the network I want to use, and I have this JavaScript console where I can call all the contracts. So gab.contracts. This is like all the contracts in the system. So I can access now the save engine, which is the main stateful contract that keeps track of all like the depth and internal balances. And from there, I can call all the functions of this smart contract. I can, for example, check the total, the global depth. I need await because this is an async function. Oops. This is a big number, so I need to wrap it into, this is actually a RAD, so a 45 decimal number. And that way I got like the total depth of this in the system, which is actually the RAI supply of 18 million RAI something. And I can the same way use this library to make proxy call and write call. There is a function that's gonna open your browser with MetaMask. So if you put like in a function like this, it will open up MetaMask to make transactions, and you can use the console to make transactions. So anyway, all right. So this console makes it easy to hack around, so feel free to use it. Next, it's PyFlex, so the Python library to interact with the RAI system. Yeah, so like this is a fork of the MakerDAO PyMaker library. It is as well documented, and it is mainly focused on building keeper bots. So the bots that are doing the collateral auction mainly, but also other kinds of automation that the system needs, such as depth and surplus auction. But you could also build like the pingers that are just small programs that are calling functions to update the system. So if you are more of Python guy, I recommend using PyFlex. Get in touch with Bert from the team, or the library. And yeah. So next is the subgraph. So we have a very extensive subgraph that implements and that tracks most of the variable within the system. You can use it for analytics or for your front ends. We have two endpoints for the subgraph, a self-hosted one that we are hosting our own graph node, but we also have the one hosted by the Graph protocol. And I will make a quick demo how you would use such thing. So for example, very simply, if I want the list of safes into the system, I will only get 1,000 of them. I want their collateral, their depth, and let's get their safe ID as well. And now I get a list of all the safe into the system. Let's get as well the owner. And here you go. So you can pull this data for your front end or your applications. The way I do it, like I usually open the dev console from the web browser, and you can see the calls here from when I call this thing, and I just right click, copy, and for example, I can get the curl version, and I can just open my terminal and copy the curl comment, and boom, here I got all the data in my terminal. So yeah, that's it for the subgraph. It is documented within the graph within the schema of the graph. So you have all the documentation here, and you can see all the variables that you can get. So for example, here we can get from the accounting engine the ongoing liquidation, or you could get, for example, the current redemption price. So yeah, you have a lot of information in this subgraph, and yeah, it's available for anyone to use. And yeah, if you've never used a subgraph, here is the doc to like how you write queries. So the query I wrote before. And last is Google BigQuery. So we have templates on Google BigQuery for like all the events into the RAI system. And from there you can make very good data analytics. It's mostly for what it's being used. You can easily get a CSV dump of pretty much almost anything you want in this thing. Okay, so that's it for a very quick tour of everything you need to know to build on Reflexer. Don't hesitate to get in touch with me or with the team on Discord. We will be also we are in the Discord of these online hackathons, and don't hesitate to ping us for feedback or ideas. We are very happy to help. And yeah, otherwise you can find all the important link here. Thank you very much and happy hacking.